Morning, everyone. We're convening the Committee on Labor and Government Operations. It is Thursday, March 14th, about 9:22 a.m. in conference room 309. Vice Chair will be handling testimony. Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. We have another pretty full agenda today of Senate bills. Just as a reminder, if you're here in the room in person, if you'd like to stand on your testimony, please still come up to the microphone so people on YouTube can hear you. If you're on Zoom, just ask that you continue to keep your cameras off and yourself muted until you're called upon. So with that, we'll start with Senate Bill 2516 SD2 relating to the Department of Accounting and General Services. Among other things, this bill renames the position of the state CIO as a CIO and Deputy Comptroller. Up first to testify in person is the CIO. Providing comments.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Doug Murdoch, the State Chief Information Officer, and we'll stand on our testimony with comments.
Okay, thank you. Up next is the Department of Accounting and General Services, the Comptroller, also providing comments.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, State Department of Accounting and General Services, Keith Regan, Comptroller. We stand on our written testimony, providing comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, please also note we have testimony providing comments from Transform Hawaii Government, and 3 pieces of testimony in opposition from individuals. So with that, members, any questions? Or, I'm sorry, anyone else in the room wishing to testify? Anyone via Zoom? Seeing none. Okay, members, questions? Chair?
Yeah, the CIO, please. And thank you for being here, Doug.
Yes.
There's some confusion, and maybe this is just for my own edification, but is the CIO a cabinet level position? Do you go to the cabinet meetings?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then how often would you say you meet with the governor directly for in your role as CIO?
I meet with the governor not very often directly, but I do meet with the chief of staff and other people on the governor's staff.
Okay. How often do you meet with, can you give me a ballpark, like once a month, or once a couple months for the governor?
Not including cabinet meetings, it might be once a year. Depends on what's
Okay.
going on. When I was doing safe travels for Governor Ige, I met with him weekly.
Okay, but for the cabinet meetings, when all the other department heads are in there, is it not just you, but all people who are reporting directly to the governor are invited to those cabinet meetings, or is your position unique?
My position is unique. Not all people that are with attached agencies attend the cabinet meetings.
Okay, about how many would you say are not department heads in that meeting that are just attached agencies?
Probably 4 or 5.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next bill, Senate Bill 2288 SD2, relating to government. This bill generally requires that travel reports submitted by state employees be made available for public review on the Comptroller's website. Up first, Dags, Comptroller, in support.
Well, Chair, Vice Chair, Keith Regan, Comptroller for the State of Hawaii Department of Accounting and General Services. We stand on our written testimony in support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all that we have scheduled to testify in person this morning. Is there anyone in the room wishing to testify? Anyone via Zoom? Seeing none, please also note we have testimony in support from DBED and comments from the judiciary. Questions?
Yeah, Dags, please.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning. So this seems a little excessive to me. I know it's not your bill, so I'm not holding you, it's not a criticism of Dags, but it seems like all teachers would be caught up on this for field trips, and it's a lot. I mean, as a teacher, I'm just thinking it'd be a lot, or as a former teacher, I should say. So how extensive is this form? Does it already exist that we would then be applying to everyone? Or can you tell me a little bit about it?
So currently, there's already a form that exists and a process that exists for travel, right, that captures all the approvals, whether it be for airfare or hotel or transportation, et cetera. So those forms exist that employees have to submit or complete and submit and get approved, prior to actually going out and traveling. And so this bill, from what I understand, would just sort of take that information and put it into a database that's accessible online so that the public would be able to see what kind of travel is occurring by state employees. So it's really just taking the information that already exists in a paper form and putting it online and making it available for the public.
Is this the same form that we fill out as legislators?
The TAF, I'm not sure if you guys use the same TAF form or not, but it's a travel approval form. It's like multi-part. I think, Deputy Director, well, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Garrett, when he was Deputy Director, is probably familiar, with some of those requirements that we'd have to go through.
Okay, how much more work is this going to be for you guys? I mean, what's the percentage increase you're thinking?
Well, we'll be relying on our good friends at ETS to help us with that. In terms of the actual workload, we'd have to take a look at what it's going to take, but I think it's just a matter of transferring the information from that manual form into, some sort of a database. So it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight.
Yeah, my concern is that people are starting to, different departments and judiciary are starting to weigh in. Everyone wants an exception to this thing.
Yeah.
And the bill is just going to be a long list of exceptions, which is not the best way to legislate, I think. Doug, do you want to weigh in on how much increase you think it's going to be? Do you have any ideas?
Let me just add one last thing, and that is just that, we do provide reports on travel, right, to the legislature periodically. And so information can be provided to the legislature on demand if the legislature so wishes to have that information.
It seems like we're already getting some information. It's just the expansion is what I'm concerned about. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I'll just note that as part of the Finance Committee that I serve on, the departments did provide a table with all the approved travel from all their employees.
Okay.
Chair, Vice Chair Doug Murdoch, State CIO. If we're just looking at gathering data for travel that's already happened and been approved, and all we want is the fact of what the travel was, that's not too bad. We could probably find original sources and pull that data together, but it will require a good bit of work. If we're starting to look at travel reports, which is post-travel information, what did they do, who did they meet, how long did they spend there, that would be a huge new endeavor. So part of the issue we always have is the technology group is who's the business sponsor, who's going to decide what goes in this data and what doesn't, and what gets public reported and what doesn't. So it's good that it's in DAGS. State Procurement Office has a role in procurement of travel. DAGS pre-audit approves a lot of the travel, so it will require a lot of business agencies to get involved so that we can create this bill, and then all the departments will have to weigh in, and travel from UH and DOE and Judiciary and Legislature is separate from the rest of the executive branch, so we have to decide whether to try and gather that data as well.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Vice Chair.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next bill, Senate Bill 2553 SD1, relating to the Hawaii Retirement Savings Act. This bill clarifies the definition of covered employer under this act, and it requires covered employees to automatically enroll covered employees into the program unless the employee chooses to opt out. Up first is the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. In support. Good morning, Deputy.
Good morning, Chair Matayoshi, Vice Chair Takuya Garrett. Bill Kunzman, Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. We'll stand on our testimony in strong support and be available for questions. And if I may I also stand on the testimony in support from the Hawaii Retirement Savings Board?
Yes, I was just going to ask, so thank you. I know you're wearing two hats today as the co-chair of that effort as well. Okay, thank you. Up next, AARP. In support.
Good morning. I'm Audrey Suga Nakagawa, Advocacy Director for AARP Hawaii, and we stand on our testimony in strong support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next on Zoom, the Retail Merchants of Hawaii, not present. Providing comments. Okay, that's all that we have scheduled to testify in person. Anyone in the room wishing to testify? Seeing none. Members, please note we also have several other pieces of testimony and support from individuals, roughly 7 or 8. Questions? Okay. All right, seeing no questions, we'll move on to the next bill on the agenda, Senate Bill 2652 SD1, relating to the budget. This bill expands items that may be contained in the state budget. Up first is the Department of Budget and Finance.
Good morning, Vice Chair.
You must have missed the instructions at the beginning.
Sorry. Good morning, Vice Chair. Chair, Louis Oliveira, Budget and Finance. We will stand on our written testimony, providing comments. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Director. Okay, that's the only testifier for today. Anyone in the room wishing to testify? No one via Zoom. Questions for the Finance Director? Seeing none, moving on to the next bill. Senate Bill 2715, SD1, relating to unfair labor practices. This bill makes it unlawful for an employer to discharge, discipline, or otherwise penalize or threaten any adverse employment action against an employee because the employee declines to attend or participate in an employer-sponsored meeting that communicates the opinion of the employer about political matters. It does not look like we have anyone scheduled to testify in person, although we did receive a few dozen pieces of testimony on this bill. Is anyone in the room wishing to testify? NFIB, providing comments.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you. We did submit written comments on this bill. Our main concern is just sort of the broad statement of what political matters is. I don't think it's defined, and we just want to make sure that it doesn't infringe upon any rights under the NLRA. So happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to testify? Anyone via Zoom on this bill? Nope. Okay, questions?
Yeah, Mike, you said that I agree that political matters is a little broad. I mean, in this day and age, Bud Light is a political matter. So what would you suggest as a narrowing definition for political matters?
I thought you'd ask me that question. I didn't think of any definition off the top of my head, but I mean, something that would allow employers to, discuss maybe policy issues if it came down to it. But I guess essentially more with regards to who you should vote for or any type of those kinds of really campaign-focused matters should be prohibited, obviously. But just when you say political, I think it could bring in a large realm of what people may think is political.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've been talking to some of the testifiers about this. My inclination is to restrict it to basically trying to influence a decision on a future vote. Is that acceptable to you folks?
I think that sounds like a good definition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next bill. Oh, sorry, Representative Martinez, any questions? No? Okay. Let's see. Next bill, Senate Bill 2718, SD1, related to administrative procedures. This bill allows the Hawaii Labor Relations Board to admit and consider hearsay evidence. The Hawaii Labor Relations Board, in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. Susan Weber on behalf of Marcus Oshiro, Chair of the Hawaii Labor Relations Board. He is on his way as I speak, but we stand on our written testimony in support of the measure with the requested amended. Thank you very much, and we'll be happy to answer questions, the Chair, in just a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. HLRB was the only person or group scheduled to testify today. Is there anyone in the room wishing to testify? Seeing none via Zoom, none as well. Okay, questions? No? Okay, moving on to the next bill. Senate Bill 2787, SD2, relating to immigration. This bill establishes within DLIR's Office of Community Services the Immigration Services and Access Unit. Up first is the Office of Language Access. In support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Representative Martinez, Afirak Bamrungan, Executive Director for the Office of Language Access. I'm standing on my written testimony in support of this measure and available for any question the committee may have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Up next is the Office of Community Services. In support.
Good morning, Chair Matayoshi, Vice Chair Takoya Garrett, and Representative Rose Martinez. Giovanni De La Cruz, Executive Director of the Office of Community Services. We stand in our written testimony in support of this measure and be happy to answer any questions that the committee might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next, the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. In support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Representative Martinez. My name is Maria Ralihai with the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. We fully support SB 2787, and I'd like to share a few points from our written testimony. And I just wanted to emphasize the invaluable contributions immigrants make to our state's economy. In 2018 alone, over $874 million from immigrant households went to state and local taxes. Immigrants also constitute a significant portion of our workforce, particularly in sectors such as agriculture, tourism, and healthcare. But despite their contributions, they often face obstacles like language barriers, legal issues, and challenges being fully included in our communities. So investing in immigrant inclusion has proven benefits for our state. Immigrants who receive support and opportunities for economic self-sufficiency contribute more effectively to our workforce and economy. So the proposed Immigrant Services and Access Unit will address their diverse needs and empower immigrants to thrive in our community. So thank you for allowing me to testify, and please pass SB 2787. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next, the Hawaii Friends of Civil Rights in support.
Aloha, my name is Amy Agbayani, and I'm co-chair of the Hawaii Friends for Civil Rights. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in strong support of this measure. You have my written testimony, but I also wanted to emphasize that nearly every economist agrees that the aging population of the U.S. is problematic, and that there are fewer working age people to support the economy, Social Security, and even our tax base. Working age immigrants are essential in many communities, and immigrants are the largest contributor to our working age growth of the working age population. In 2021, we got a report by the New Americans Economy in partnership with national and local organizations to do a study on immigrants. And their study, which is entitled Immigrants and Migrants in Hawaii, Essential Contributors to the State's Workforce and Economy. I won't say everything other than it's an excellent current data, and just the summary: immigrants are vital to industries and occupations that are essential to Hawaii's economy. It says 18% of the population are immigrants, but nearly account for 40% of agriculture workers, 33% of the tourism, entertainment, and hospitality industry, as I also should point out, healthcare. And they have a significant contribution to Hawaii's economy. Alongside the 1.55 million immigrants paid in federal taxes, they also paid $874 million in state and local taxes and $780 million in Social Security and Medicaid and so forth, and have a spending power of $5.8 billion contribution. So we oftentimes, when we advocate for the immigrant populations here, we talk about the barriers that they face. And what we are asking for is to pay attention to those barriers so that their strengths and their participation could be actually enhanced. They are essential and contribute and have been contributing historically and currently. So we really feel that we need a statewide emphasis, just like many of the other states. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Liza Ryan-Gill.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Liza Ryan-Gill, and I just wanted to emphasize some of the things that my esteemed colleagues have brought forth. Hawaii is in the top 5 states in the country for our percentage of foreign-born people for our population, and yet we lack some of the basic infrastructure that many states with large immigrant populations have, which are state offices of immigrant advancement or county or city offices. There are more than 40 across the country, including the new White House Office of New Americans, which was pioneered by a former boss of mine. And this is really about livability, right? We always talk about making Hawaii more affordable for folks. We know that when individuals who are not citizens are able to become U.S. citizens, that they see on average more than a 15% increase in their wages. So that is one way that we can help people make more as they live here in Hawaii. The face of the limited permanent resident, of whom we have tens of thousands that we could help support become U.S. citizens, is a middle-aged Filipino woman working in hospitality who has some English, but not that great. And we need to support that woman, that LPR, for them to be able to increase their English proficiency so that they can have higher paying jobs, so that they can become a U.S. citizen and increase their economic viability in this state. The expansion of this office is very similar to other states, and it builds upon the incredible work that we've already been able to do through passing other funding bills to the Office of Community Service to be able to restart our immigrant resource centers. This just brings a whole of government, holistic approach to it so that we can support and leverage the folks that we already have here to be able to achieve their best and bring the things, whether that is nurses that are being underutilized that we need in the healthcare industry and we need to figure out licensing. This is really to troubleshoot those issues that are barriers for this 18% of our population. So mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the room wishing to testify before we transition to Zoom? Okay, seeing none, via Zoom, up first we have the Hawaii Federation of Republican Women. In opposition?
Aloha, Chair Matayoshi and Vice Chair Garrett and members of the committee. This is Jamie Detweiler, President of the Hawaii Federation of Republican Women. I'm actually in the nation's capital. I'm sorry for the background noise. I stand on my written testimony as submitted, but I wanted to highlight the duplication of services by DLIR and the Office of Community Services. They already provide immigration support services covering 4 categories: citizens, conditional, permanent, and non-immigrant, and undocumented. My question, and this is something for you to think about to take back to committee meetings, is why is there a need for increased funding? Also, why is there an increased need for more staffing? I understand that office, OCS, is already providing excellent services to those 4 types of citizens in that 4 categories. And when you talk about in the bill about recent immigrants, what defines recent? The last 6 months, the last 6 weeks, what are we talking about? And the bottom line is, because of the duplication of services, it's going to put an increased tax burden on us, on the taxpayers. And for those reasons, the Federation stands in opposition. We also want to recognize the rich history of immigrants in Hawaii. And my family stands in that category. I have a Chinese background, and many of them contributed in the early days of Hawaii before statehood. And so I want to recognize that. We want to encourage legal immigration and pathways for them to become legal citizens in the United States. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. Up next via Zoom, Crystal Kionia.
Hello, aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Crystal Kionia, and I have submitted written testimony, but I will summarize. I'm writing in support of SB 2787, which establishes within the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations Office of Community Services the Immigration Services and Access Unit. As a proud first-generation immigrant in Hawaii, I completely understand the challenges faced by immigrant families navigating the complexities of a new country and a new system. Like many children of immigrants and the broader community, whether it be interpreting at medical appointments, school meetings, or helping them access essential services. And those experiences underscore the urgent need for dedicated support systems tailored to the unique needs of our immigrant population and their families. And so I think the proposed bill will play a pivotal role in addressing the diverse needs of immigrants. including English language training, legal services related to immigration, and support for accessing government services. Just in conclusion, I urge you to support the passing of SB 2787, and thank you for your consideration. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next is Austin, and I don't want to butcher the last name, so I'm going to ask Austin to pronounce it for us.
Okay. Aliopi, thank you.
Aliopi, okay, thank you. Please proceed. In support.
Third name, Chair, Vice Chair, Medicine. Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to testify in full support. SB 2787. Just want to chime in and add on to what my colleagues have been saying. For me, as first generation born U.S. citizen, to COFA immigrants, I think there's a real need for this kind of policy to be enforced, especially the past 5 years of my career working for nonprofit grassroots programs. I've been taking the heavy burden of being that sort of bridge between those communities and how they integrate into society, especially here in Hawaii with all the challenges. So again, mahalo. Thank you guys for your time. And again, I encourage you guys to pass this measure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else via Zoom?
Chair, Michael Galoya Jr. with the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. I stand in strong. The caucus stands in strong support of this bill. I'm sorry, I did submit our written testimony late. And we are a country of immigrants, and we need to embrace immigrants. They make us stronger. I find it odd that anybody who is not, and it is an immigrant background, would testify against this bill. But we are each to their own. So we encourage you to pass this bill. I can't say it any better than the previous testifiers. And so we just encourage you to do so. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. That is all we have scheduled to testify. No one else via Zoom. Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Senate Bill 2787. Okay, Representative Martinez.
Being an immigrant also, I commend all the good testimonies that you provided today. I only have one question though, raised by the Federation of the Republican. Do we also provide those services to the undocumented immigrants?
Who is your question for, Representative? Who do you want to have answer that?
Whoever can answer my question.
Giovanni Dela Cruz, Executive Director of the Office of Community Services. Thank you, Representative Martinez, for the questions. And for the record, the Office of Community Services established under Chapter 371K, which provides the population to be served: one, economically disadvantaged individual, refugees, immigrants. There is no language in the founding statute of the Office of Community Services that says undocumented. The current program that we have in the Office of Community Services now, we have the federally funded program under the Department of Health and Human Services, U.S. Federal Department of Health and Human Services, branch of Office of Refugee and Resettlement, ORR, which provides that the clients to be served has to be in legal status in order for it to be eligible for funding. And the way we see, if this bill passes and the unit is established, we will see it as a supplement, not a duplication of service to our existing federally funded programs. Although the number is small for Hawaii under that program, we are part of the state that receives the base funding, because in the prior year or previous couple of years, we only served below 30. But the past federal fiscal year 24, because of what happened in Afghanistan and in Ukraine, we've seen from 30 to 89. That's just the refugee with a small r, because it composes of refugees, asylums, and those with special status because of the Ukraine crisis and the Afghan crisis. Now, if I may also, we currently have or just recently reestablished, thanks to the your support by the legislature, the Immigrant Resource Center. I would just like to point out that because we have that funding and the Maui wildfire happened, although it was not intended to address the situation, but it was able to use it to help the immigrants that were affected by the Maui wildfire. We have one of the major service provider here in Honolulu had to shift about 276,000 of its funding, zeroing the funding that's been allocated for Kauai and taking out some from Honolulu to establish a physical location or physical office there to provide services for the immigrants who are affected by the Maui wildfire, which was started in November 15, 2023. And we had their report for the first 1 month and a half of their existence. They already served 203 individuals just that 1 month half alone. So if this service, like what my colleagues have said or the prior testimonies said, this will give us the opportunity to expand the service, but not to duplicate them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, moving on to the next bill, Senate Bill 2942 ST1, relating to the employment of a minor. The description's a little long here, but in short, it allows minors under the age of 16 to work in theatrical employment, provided certain conditions are met. It requires a nurse certified and basic life support to accompany, supervise, and advocate on behalf of an infant on set who's under the age of 1, and requires a studio teacher to accompany, teach, and attend to the well-being of minors who have attained the age of 5 years and are required to but have been excused from attending school. Up first, we have the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations in support.
Chair, Vice Chair, Member Bill Kunzman, DLIR, will stand on our testimony and support and be available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next, the Screen Actors Guild. In support.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, chairs and members of the committee. Thank you so much for hearing this bill. My name is Marisha Palma-Elmore, and I'm the Executive Director of SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, and we stand in support of this bill. I'm going to stand on my testimony, but I wanted to call attention to the part about the nurses. As it stands right now, if a baby is on set, under 1 year old or even just any kind of baby, there is no one there to advocate for the baby. While parents are going to be there, it would really speak a lot to safety and our state's commitment to safety of all workers, especially the most vulnerable workers. And on set, that's going to be a baby. While it doesn't have to happen often, when it does, it would be really a good thing to have a nurse on set there to watch after the baby and also advocate for the baby. Thank you so much, and I'm available for questions. I referred to Section 50 of our CBA, which speaks specifically to this. At past hearings, folks have asked for that. I have copies if anybody here wants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, up next we have a few individuals who have testified or signed up to testify in support. Marianne Tesaro.
Good morning, Chair Matsuyoshi, Vice Chair Garrett, and members of the committee. Thank you for your time. And my name is Marianne Tesaro. I am a licensed teacher with the State of Hawaii and Department of Education. My concern as an educator and a child advocate is that our minors are being repeatedly released from school to work long hours in the film industry where their education and safety is being compromised. It almost harkens back to the days of the coffee plantation when scores of miners worked out in the fields. However, the fields may not have been as dangerous as a film set, which is a very fast-moving pace, often dangerous, and a strictly adult environment. Except for the miners that might be working, it's all adults. It's imperative that our Hawaii miners have a licensed teacher on set to educate, supervise, and advocate on their behalf. Other states where minors continuously film, such as New York, Georgia, California, all have these laws in place. Why not Hawaii? Our keiki deserve it. There's no cost to the state for this, and you will all gain immense peace of mind knowing that you did your part to educate our keiki. Mahalo, I stand by my testimony. Any questions?
We'll do questions at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next, Melissa Krutner. In support.
Aloha, my name is Melissa Krutner, and I live in Ewa Beach. I work in the film industry, and I am a Hawaii Teacher Standards Board licensed teacher, a SAG-AFTRA actor, a IATSE studio teacher referral, and a mother to minor actors. I am testifying in support of SB 2942. As a parent, I prefer when there's a set teacher, and I can see a difference when there's not. They help provide a safe space for them to do their schoolwork, eat, have breaks, change their wardrobe. They make sure they have water and sunscreen when it's needed so the other crew members can focus on their jobs and the kids' needs aren't forgotten. I can see the difference when they make sure that I, as a mother, can be with them when they transport them between locations. The teachers make sure that we are kept together and that other people working who may not have, on a set, a lot of different people can come and go as background and whatnot, and they may not have had background checks, and they might have a criminal history or be a sex offender or something, so the teacher just makes sure that they can't approach and talk to the minors, which I've seen happen before. So it's just, they're kind of like a liaison between the families and the crew to make sure the kids are looked after. And I think I like that it diversifies the opportunities for my kids here where they can go into acting and not have to rely on tourism for income, and they use it for themselves for dance classes and dance competitions and whatnot. So they're more likely, I'm more likely to submit them to a project if I know there's a teacher that's going to be looking after them. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Jennifer Lopes.
Aloha. My name is Jennifer Lopes. I am also a certified teacher in the state of Hawaii. I am also a set teacher referral and a parent to 4 children who have worked on set many times. They've said many of the reasons already of why we support this bill. As a parent, I've been on set many times just as a parent, and I do feel much safer because we as parents aren't always allowed to be with the children on set. They do take them sometimes, and the kids could be surrounded by 50, 60 to 100 adults, has been spoken, that are strangers to them. And I think who more do they trust, by nature than their teacher, than a teacher. And so when a teacher, the kids on set, I've seen them, they feel nervous, they feel scared, they can feel alone, and they might have to use the bathroom, and who else do they turn to besides their teacher? And so I feel strongly about that, and I also see that they are missing school. And so if a teacher can be on set, the teachers often send work with them to bring to set. And then when there's a lot of downtime, there's hours sometimes that the kids are sitting and waiting, and that gives them an opportunity with a teacher there to have the kids together to work on their work, that they can stay caught up with their schoolwork. So we just believe that the safety, well-being, and education of our keiki are so important, as well as the infants needing the nurses. And we ask that you please pass Bill S942. Thank you. S2942.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Up next, Ms. Patricia Marianne Coughlin.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Patricia Coughlin.
I am a certified licensed teacher in Hawaii by HTSB, Hawaii Teacher Standard Board. I'm also a graduate of the University of Hawaii College of Education, and I stand in support of SB 2942. As mentioned before, being on set when movies or productions are happening, there are many, many dozens, if not hundreds, of people around, unknown to the kids who might be there filming for that day. I think that the main requirements that needs to be kept in the forefront of our minds is, number one, the education of the children. They're out of school for the day or sometimes days on end. And also the protection of the children as well, as mentioned. Hawaii is ranked number 49 out of 50 states in terms of the lowest GPA in the country. And so I think we need to take every step possible to make sure that Hawaii is in the forefront of educating and protecting our children and not at the back of the pack. Also, this bill will cost the taxpayers of Hawaii and the state of Hawaii absolutely zero, not a penny. So it makes no sense to me why this wouldn't be put in place. And again, Hawaii needs to be at the forefront of educating, protecting, and making sure that our children have every advantage here. And I stand in support of SB 2942. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the room wishing to testify before we transition to Zoom? Seeing none, via Zoom, up first we have the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii in support.
Good morning again. Michael Galoyi Jr., Chair of the Stonewall Caucus. We stand in strong support of this common sense piece of legislation. It's something we need to do to take care of our keiki, because it's sad that we actually have to have this bill that is not already being done by the employers, the filmmakers, but it's not. So we're here to stand in solidarity and support. There's been a lot of bills talking about keiki safety, and here's another one that, again, this time it's not going to cost the state any money, like was already said. So I encourage you to pass this bill, and thank you for hearing it. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. Up next, IATSC Local 665, not present, in support. Anyone else via Zoom? Nope, seeing none. Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Senate Bill 2942. Chair?
This is for SAG-AFTRA. And actually, if IATSC wants to chime in, feel free.
Their rep isn't here today, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like the bill. I mean, I am in favor of it. My concern is that and I'm perfectly happy to make the correction from studio teacher to set teacher. My concern is that the studio teacher or set teacher in the bill is responsible for the health and safety of the child as well as the education. And just because a teacher is licensed to be a teacher does not necessarily mean that they are going to be able to look after the health and safety of a child on set unless they already know their way around a set, which is totally separate and apart from being a licensed teacher. So my concern is that we're placing a licensed teacher in a position where they are in charge of the health and safety of up to 10 kids, when that licensed teacher may not, they may be in the way too. Honestly, they may be an impediment to people running around. They may not know who's running where's safe to stand, where's dangerous to stand. It's a little concerning. It's almost like we're adding another person into the mix that could get caught up and hurt, or even misdirect kids because they don't know any better and have the kids get injured.
Right.
So if you could speak to that.
So as far as the teacher stuff, I can't speak to. That's our IATSE brothers and sisters. What I can speak to is on set. Generally speaking, there'll be a set welfare worker or a kid wrangler type of person, but that's hired by production, and so that's. Sometimes it can be just a PA, honestly. So those, there are people on set who are, I hate using the word wrangling, but, looking after the kids in that way, getting them where they need to go. But your concerns are absolutely valid, and I hear you as far as, schooling and advocacy. I hear where you're coming from. The set teachers that we have here, I can speak to just personally for the ones that I know, and the ones that have been working on set are veterans, and they know how to be on set. They know what to do. And as you've heard from these these teachers here, they also have children who are on set, so they've got, as actors, so they have the experience that way, and they know their way around. But I have to, you do raise valid concerns, you're right, and whether that means now adding another person, I don't know, that speaks to what you were saying about, are we bringing in someone else to be just a welfare worker? In other jurisdictions, that may be the case, where they'll have a teacher and someone who's just there looking after welfare. Perhaps, I don't know offhand. I can also share with you our 50-state survey that we did, where we break down every single state and exactly what they do. Right off the top of my head, I haven't mined that data recently, so I don't know where other states fall in that jurisdiction. But you're right. I will speak with confidence to the set teachers here and the set teachers that I know on set that do indeed have experience there and know their way around set. I don't think I answered your question. I'm sorry. I think I addressed some comments, but I apologize.
How many set teachers do we have that are licensed teachers in
So
Hawaii?
that would be an IATSE question. I do have that info. Do you know exactly the number? Unfortunately, Irish or TUI aren't here, so I don't know if they know exactly, like offhand.
If you could come up to the microphone,
Yeah.
please, so the people on YouTube can follow along.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are some because they're right here,
Right, there's
but I want to
4.
know if there's sufficient people. And so my inclination is to add some kind of additional qualification to, in addition to being a licensed teacher, to have someone with set experience or something like that, so that if they're responsible for the health and safety of these kids, especially when there's 10 of them. I mean, I was a teacher, 10 kids running around, hard to keep track of all of them for health and safety. But if the teacher at least has some kind of set experience, something, I don't know how to quantify it, so maybe you could help.
Thank you, Chair. It's very valid, your question, and it's called the Blue Book. We follow the California standards because they're the gold standard in the industry, and their studio teachers have so many rules as far as how many hours according to the age, how long they can work, when they have to take a break, when they have to eat, placing sunscreen, when they need a rest. There's so much, and I'm happy to share the Blue Book with you if you'd like to see it. That's what we follow, an enormous amount of rules for every age group that's on set. As far as licensed teachers, that just takes care of the education, but all studio teachers, and again, this is California, which we follow, they're all health and welfare workers. That's just the title that they have, health and welfare, because we have to watch out that they're getting sunscreen, that if they're tired, that they get a rest in time. We're often outside in environments that are dangerous, that they're kept safe. If something happens that's a medical issue, we have a medic on set, which we take them to immediately, or we have the medic come to us to supervise
So
that.
what in addition to being a licensed teacher should we add to this bill, or do you recommend adding to this bill for the definition of a set teacher?
Well, the term that we use is studio teacher welfare worker / welfare worker. So it's one in the same, because we follow all the California welfare worker rules, and that's what we're trained on.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to link us to California, though.
Okay.
I guess if I put like some kind of experience requirement in here, do you think that there are sufficient individuals in Hawaii for studios to hire? I also don't want to choke them out so that there's only 3 on the whole island, and then they can raise their prices because I created a monopoly or a virtual monopoly on it. So that's my concern about adding it. But right now, if we include health and safety, it does make me uncomfortable. Do you have any thoughts on what to add?
And you're saying, as for the title of the studio teacher?
As for the requirements of what we're going to call a set teacher pretty soon.
I would just keep it as following the California, because that's what we've always done, and we're trained that way. And that's how we train our new studio teachers that come in, that they always follow the health and safety.
Okay. Marisha, do you have something to add?
I have a suggestion, if y'all would find it amenable. Within our CBA, we do address these issues, so perhaps something along the lines of, within the guidelines and standards of standard industry, business and industry practices, just because, this is, for Hawaii especially, maybe we'll get 1 or 2 shows a year that will require this. I mean, if we're going to be real, and I'm not going to plug the tax credit because this is not the time for that, but where we are, there are only so many productions and studios that come in and shoot at a time. So I think if we wanted, if you're asking for suggestions for keeping it simple and yet specific, then really referring to the standard industry, our business practices and what we do here. And we have language within our CBA that I can, as far as, I put it in my testimony with, with regards to ensuring health and safety standards on set. While it does seem global, I think it really addresses the issue of, safety being paramount. And I think if you're okay with that, I'd be happy to work with you offline to provide that language. I can even just shoot it real quick and cut and paste and give that to you now. But I think that may be, because I hear your concerns about tying it to California. Although we should note, whenever a California child does come to shoot in Hawaii, the California rules follow and they have to have a teacher that's certified. So that's a whole different thing. But I hear what you're saying, that we don't want to necessarily tie it exactly to California. So I'd be happy to provide that info for you. And I think it's the first part of my testimony too, where I pull from our CBA what we require on our end.
It wouldn't be a requirement for the person, it would be a requirement for the studio to hire
Correct.
someone consistent with
Yeah.
standard business practices.
Because
of,
it is the employer's, it is their responsibility and job to make sure that the safety and health, the health and safety of everyone on set is ensured, and that's on the studio.
Okay, I'm going to put it into decision-making, but let's work
Thank
on
you.
some language.
Absolutely, thank you. Appreciate it.
It's going to need to be like today, though, yeah?
I'm around. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
Rep. Martinez, any questions? Sorry, Marisha, while you're there, just so I can kind of appreciate the universe of minors working in the film industry or entertainment industry.
Yeah.
How many are there? You just mentioned people coming in from California, but
Sure.
locally, how many students are we talking about?
So on
For
any
minors.
given set, if we're talking about the most recent Disney project that was just here, right? You've got how we do it on the call sheet. Number one is a minor, right? And they, at any given time, they'll be her cohort of friends, if you will, but they're not there every day. Definitely number one is there every day, mostly. So that's one show. Back a year ago, we had another Disney project that was here that had older minors, maybe not necessarily kindergarten, 6, 7-year-old. And then occasionally on some of the CBS shows, there'll be someone has a baby. They'll bring a baby on. Sometimes they do it with robots. It's pretty cool. But, they'll bring a baby on. They'll have school kids. Maybe they'll do a scene or an arc with a kid who's a witness to something. But it isn't necessarily something that we'll see as if we had like a Nickelodeon type show or something like that. That's not where we are right now as an industry. We don't have a kid show that's pumping out content every week. So it's fairly sporadic as we stand, with the hopes of doing more. Again, not going to touch on the tax credit thing, but with the hopes of doing more if we can. But right now it's, 1, maybe 2 shows a year if we're lucky.
So we're talking about dozens of minor actors, not in the hundreds?
Not in the hundreds, no. On average. There may be a day where there's a huge extras day where they're having elementary school kids, but that will maybe be one day for a few hours.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to understand the scope. So if we are trying to do like a ratio or something for set
And we can
teachers-
give you more numbers also as far as, I can give you general numbers as far as who works here. And then if we want to dive deeper as far as minors, I can provide that.
Did you have something you
Thank
wanted to
you.
add?
On our current show, NCIS Hawaii, which started filming a couple seasons ago, we had a part-time, full-time minor who was the daughter of the star of the show. So she was on continuously, and I worked with her personally, was always working with the principal of her school and the teachers to make sure that she kept up with her schooling, which she did and was able to actually get into a private school that was not easy to get into. So that's one example of continuing. We also have background kids that are on repeatedly. Seems like the moms like it and the kids like it, and they recur all the time in the all different shows that we do. Some of them are used to doing schoolwork because they've been told that. Other times on shows when there's no teacher there, they know that they can get away with doing nothing and they're just kind of running around playing. And as our other teacher said, there's a lot of downtime and they're doing nothing in their downtime. And so I think the numbers can get quite high because it seems that the same minors continue to come back and back and back. They're kind of in the swing of doing it. And, often with no education.
Okay, thank you very much. Looks like the CIO is having tech issues with his phone there. Let's see, moving on to the next bill. Bill SB 3070, relating to the Employees Retirement System funding period. This bill lowers the ERS's funding period to amortize the system's total unfunded accrued liability. Up first, the Department of Budget and Finance in support.
Good morning, Vice Chair, Representative Louis Oliveri from the Department of Budget and Finance. You have our written testimony, and rather than get into an esoteric discussion about how this addresses the issue, I think what's important, and thank you again for hearing this administration bill, the real issue here is the state's continued attempts to address our unfunded liability. The proposal that you have in front of you represents best practice that's happening throughout the country right now, where other states are starting to make these reductions in their amortized schedule going forward. So in many ways, what we need to do in order to maintain our current strong credit profile and show the rating agencies that we are serious about paying down our unfunded liability is to kind of keep up with what other states are doing. So again, happy to answer any questions with regards to how this affects the state's overall credit profile as well as its unfunded liability. But again, thank you very much, and we are in strong support for this bill.
Okay, thank you. Is the Employees Retirement System here? Oh, please. In support?
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm Kanoy Margol, standing in for Tom Williams, and you have our written testimony, and on behalf of the IRS, we stand in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next on Zoom, Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Providing comments?
Yes, good morning, Chair and members of the committee. This is Jade McMillan on behalf of the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We will stand on our written comments submitted on the measure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the room wishing to testify on Senate Bill 3070? No one else via Zoom. Members, questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our last bill for today, Senate Bill 2991 SD2, relating to collective bargaining unit creation. Among other things, this requires HLRB to adopt rules establishing criteria for the creation of new bargaining units. Up first, HLRB.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I stand on my written testimony, but stand also here for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up next, United Public Workers. Providing comments.
Hello, Vice Chair, Representative Martinez, Kamukan Kaimlo, United Public Workers, UPW. You have a written testimony providing comments. We'd just like to point out that for the exclusive representative of a mixed bargaining unit, which we represent bargaining units 1 in 10, allowing any employee to petition HLRB to determine the appropriateness of a new bargaining unit is problematic for us in that we represent, each of our bargaining units consists of, dozens of classifications over 9 employer jurisdictions, and allowing any employee to petition HLRB would tax our resources because we'd have to respond to every petition. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Up next, HGEA. Providing comments as well.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Member. Nui Sebas with HGEA. We'll stand on our written testimony, which provides comments. I just want to notate, we also do have concerns about allowing any employee to petition and apply to the Hawaii Labor Relations Board. We do request a proposed amendment to only allow the exclusive representative and the employer to apply and petition the HLRB. Thank you. Malo.
Okay, thank you. That is all that we have scheduled to testify in person. Anyone else in the room wishing to testify? Seeing none. Anyone via Zoom? No. Members, questions? Chair.
Yeah, HGA. I'm inclined to do your amendment. My concern is that, I mean, for being real, this is a grad assistance bill, and they don't have an exclusive representative right now. So how would that work? Would we then only be relying on UH to do this, to be able to petition?
Chair, thank you for your question. I don't have an answer for you regarding that question as of right now.
Do you have any thoughts?
Thanks for the question, Chair. Our concern is really related to separating out a new bargaining unit from an existing bargaining unit. That is our concern. We are fine with if this is specifically for something like the situation with the grad assistants. We're not opposed to that.
Okay. Yeah, and I completely understand, and that's why I think that the change is a good one, because we don't want everyone to just be splitting all over the place. But where they don't have an exclusive rep, that's a little problematic. I'm not sure, do you folks have any suggestion on what kind of language we could use to address the fairly unique situation of the grad assistants?
I apologize, we do not at this point in time. If you'd like us to come up with something, we can certainly look at that. But if you'd like to pass it out, we really don't have something for you.
If you think of anything during recess.
Okay,
No.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, any other questions? Senate Bill 2991? Seeing none, that concludes the hearing portion of our agenda today. We are now going to recess for decision-making.
Yeah, let's recess. Okay, reconvening for decision-making. First up on the agenda, we have SB 2516 relating to the Department of Accounting and General Services. Chair's recommendation is to adopt DAGS's testimony option 3, which will have the CIO position remain the same, so we're not making it a deputy position, but we are having the CIO report to the comptroller, among other things. Technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style, and defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. I do hope that the CIO will still be in cabinet meetings, though. I think that's a valuable portion of it. Members, any comments? Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Members voting
I'm
on...
sorry, did I say defecting the date to July 1st, 3000?
Not sure, but now you just did.
Well, now we are. Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2516, SD2. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Capella is excused. Representative Martinez?
Aye.
Representative Sayama also excused. Representative Tam?
Aye.
Representative Alcos excused. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Yeah, thank you, members. Moving on to SB 2288 SD2 relating to government. We'll just be defecting the date July 1st, 3000, and tech amendments. Members, any comments? Okay, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2288 SD2. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absences of Representatives Capella, Sayama, and Alcos, who will be excused for the duration of today's decision-making. Anyone voting with reservations or nay? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, moving on to SB 2553 SD1 relating to the Hawaii Retirement Savings Act. I really like this bill. Defecting the date to July 1st, 3000, and tech amendments. Members, any comments? Okay, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2553 SD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, all members vote aye. Recommendation is adopted.
Sorry, members, 1 second. All right, SB 2652, is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay, SD1 relating to the budget. We're just further defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, any comments? Yeah, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2652 SD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, all remaining members vote aye. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. SB 2715 SD1 relating to unfair labor practices. We will be defining political matters in roughly the language of anything related to an attempt to influence a future vote by persons in the audience. Tech amendments and further defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, any comments? Hey, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2715 SD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, all members present vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
All right, moving on to SB 2718 SD1 related to administrative procedures. Tech amendments and defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, any comments? Hey, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2718 SD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, all remaining members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Moving on to SB 2787 SD2 relating to immigration. Chair's recommendations for tech amendments and to further defect the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, any comments? Hey, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2787 SD2. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, all present members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to SB 2942 SD1 relating to the employment of a minor. I am very in favor of this bill. I think we need to work out, though, what a SET teacher needs in terms of experience on a SET, just to make sure that if they're in charge of the health and safety of a minor, that experience is reflected in the hiring process. So we're going to defer decision-making to next week, Tuesday, to give us some time to work on that. Next up, SB 3070 related to the employees' retirement system funding period. Chair's recommendations for tech amendments and to defect the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, any comments? Hey, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 3070. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, all present members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to SB 2991, ST2, relating to collective bargaining unit creation. Okay, we need to work out, I am inclined to adopt HGA's amendment, but we need to work out how this is going to apply to grad assistants who have no representation right now. So I'm going to defer DM on this to next week, Tuesday. Moving on to SB 578, SC3, relating to government. I'm sorry, let's take a quick recess. Reconvening, we're still on SB 578, ST3, relating to government. Chair's recommendation is to roll this back to the ST2 version, defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. Members, any comments?
Chair, just for the record, the SD2 would take out the Department of Agriculture.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But keep in the reporting requirement as added by the Labor Chair in the Senate. All right, members, any comments? Okay, Chair will note that I am keeping this bill moving for discussion, but I'm a little disturbed that it seems that DHERD does have the ability to accomplish this according to the testimony, but just is not. So I hate passing these bills that are kind of end arounds around DHERD. I feel like more action is just needed independently. Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
All right, thank you, Chair. Members voting on SB 578, SD3. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, all members present vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. Moving on to SB 2351, SC2, relating to workforce development. Oh, man. All right, buckle up. Do you know what page this is on?
Give me a second.
Okay, we're going to be, well, we'll be defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. We're going to add the standard boilerplate language that all rules, policies, deeds, leases, contracts, et cetera, remain in full force and effect. We're going to have the expenditure of grants, well, we're going to have the expenditure of grants need the approval of the director of the department for which Workforce Development Council is attached. And I've got some language here for that. We are going to be moving Workforce Development Council to DBET. Technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. And also in section 4?
No, bottom of page 4.
Okay, on the bottom of page 4.
Section 3.
Section 3, we are going to be adding business representatives that the governor shall appoint the chairperson of the board from among the business representative members of the board. Members, any comments? Okay, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Members voting on Senate Bill 2351, SD2. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, all members present vote aye. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Convening the Joint Committees on Education and Labor and Governmental Operations. It is the 14th of March, 11 o'clock a.m., and we are in 309, just one bill on the DM agenda today, SB 2070 SD1, CTE products, services, and DOE exemptions. Members, I would like to accept SPL's amendment that 103D-310 subsection C be applicable to awards over $2,500. That's primarily dealing with Compliance Express. I would like to add a new provision stating that the superintendent must approve any awards over $500K and then de-effect the date to July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, concerns, EDN members? Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Okay, members, we are voting on Senate Bill 2070 SD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendment. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Capella. Aye. Representative Martin. Aye. Representative Martinez is excused. Representative Mariyoshi. Aye. Representative Mizuno. Aye. Representative Peruso. Aye. Representative Quinlan.
Aye.
Representative Todd is excused. Representative Garcia.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation's adopted.
Thank you.
Labor and Government Operations, same recommendation. Any comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members, LGO members voting on SB 2070 SD1. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Capella? Aye. Representative Sayama?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Martinez is excused. Representative Sayama, aye. Representative Tam? Aye. Representative Alcos excused. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Good, thank you.